So again, my name is Viviana Muscettola. I'm a director at Zandid Architects. I've been working there for the past 20 years, so a long time actually. I'm also a unit master at the Architectural Association in London. And when I was asked to participate to this event, and thank you very much for having me, the title was very much something for me familiar, since the unit that I'm teaching at university is actually called Metamorphosis. We are now the 5th year into it. When asked to think about what could be part of the dialogue that you have been going on now, I believe, for the entire day, I thought about a title called Meaningful Beauty. So without scaring you too much, because this is going to be quite of a long presentation, I thought it was important for you to know what am I going to present today in regards to the theme of meaningful beauty. First of all, I will give you an intro about Zahadid Architects' work. How do we work, collaborate, and deliver projects across the world? But then there will be 4 case studies, some of them very old, like the Maxi Museum in Rome, others more recent. The important thing that I will try to explain is that each one brings together the idea of meaningful. Meaningful in terms of how do we deal with signs that have, all they new to be worked with. How do we reinterpret the theme of adaptable reuse within the project in Port Authority in Antwerp? I'm going to go through a project that is very dear to me. I worked on this project from the beginning to the end. That is the Morpheus in Macau, where I'm going to talk about how innovation of design and the use of parametric tools from the beginning to the end has actually shaped this particular project. And I'm going to finish with the Design for Life, a project in the Saudi that again it was completed a few years back. Without any further ado, you might know that our office was created, founded by this beautiful mind, Zaha Hadid herself, and been running now for quite a long time. And she unfortunately passed away in 2016, and the office has carried on with their DNA. A lot of the senior people, including myself, have worked alongside Zaha at the time of university and then afterwards in practice. And a lot of people within this organization are very much looking at what Zaha has left us as a heritage in design, but also how can we strive in innovation within the discourse of architecture. So who we are right now a big team, 550 people working along few offices, but primarily in London. It's nice to say that we are all truly passionate about the work that we are doing, and this is actually also reflected in the diversity of thinking that we bring together, given that we cover 50 nationality and 45 languages. I think this is then represented in a way that we have established our workflow within the office. We have the head office that is London, that is actually in active collaboration with Hong Kong, Beijing, Shenzhen, and outpost in Europe, in Berlin. After Brexit, we needed one. But essentially, all of the design is done throughout our London office. Now, in terms of what do we do, you know that we do design buildings, but you might not be too familiar with all of the other departments that we collaborate with within the office. We go from a very small scale of jewelry design and furniture pieces all the way to master plan. But within our office, we have a series of departments like workspace analytics. I'll show you some example of what they do. We have developed our own digital and fabrication research team where we use robotic arms that are sitting in our office and are very much part of the way we work, all the way to virtual reality. I have a nice video to show you about our world in the metaverse, as well as sustainability and urban analytics. Essentially, this allows us to work globally with a lot of support as well from all of the engineering group and architects around the world. And we have whether somehow the office is very well known for the cultural building that we have delivered across the world. Not only the Maxi, but the Baku project, for example, is another one that is well known within the architecture practices. We are now developing much more mixed-use building, master plans, and office building. And this is a very quick array to show you the extent of the work that we do. And how, as I flip through some of those typology of buildings, I just want for you to absorb the fact that while it's very recognizable our design, it's also true that no project is the same as another. So whether it's infrastructure or tall buildings, they have some sort of genetics in common, but they are all very much responding to something special in that location and in that climate. So this is very much in a nutshell what we have done so far. You can say that maybe 90 buildings are not a big number, but I can tell you that each one of those projects have been loved and have been studied by our team for a very long time. And there are many more that are being built as we speak. And you can see how the evolution also of the office creative way of delivering project is never ending. Of course, we had received quite a lot of international authorities recognition. This is very important for us because we don't work in a silos. We work as a part of a community of designers and architects, and the recognition by prestigious entities like the one represented in this image is essential for us to kind of make sure that the work that we are doing is actually very much appreciated. But there is more. I mean, we have this is a fun page, but there is a lot of people that are following us within the social medias of different types. This is actually very important, not only because we are happy that we get a like on our project, but because there is an appreciation by a wider community, not only specialists, about what the office is actually putting forward in terms of spaces for people. So how do we do all of these? The idea here is that I would like very much to communicate in this lecture today is that we are extremely passionate about the work that we do. We are striving for innovation within every project that we are doing, no matter the budget we have to face or the difficulties of the site condition that we are working within. But we also very much strive about collaborating within our practice as well as in a wider context of designers and architects. So this is a short video about our team on sustainability, explaining how we actually work within the office. I hope you can hear the sound. Let me know if not.
The sustainability team is a group of specialists who are trained in building physics, environmental simulation, and computational design. Our role in Saharir Architects is to help the design teams to create more energy efficient buildings, but they will have a lower carbon footprint.
We develop strategies for each project depending on its climate and location. This includes selecting sustainable materials and innovative technologies, improving natural ventilation, daylight, and shading design.
Our team comes up with design solutions that prioritize sustainability while meeting the vision of Zahadi the architect. Sustainability can be beautiful. It can complement the aesthetic value of any design.
We have architects specialized in solar analysis who calculate the solar dynamics of different locations to understand how facades can be designed based on the climate in different regions of the world. We also work with wind simulation and computational fluid dynamics. We look at wind comfort inside and outside buildings. That way, we can map how the wind is going to be moving around the premises and understand how it will affect comfort levels. We have computational experts on the team. They develop tools that can help us interrogate climate data. The climate discovery tool predicts the potential for a location to help us achieve a more or less energy efficient building. Just by looking at the weather conditions and comfort levels, we can forecast how easy it will be to achieve a net zero building. The sustainability.
And again, this team is not running the last few hours of a competition entry or a concept stage. They are actually working alongside our architectural team to develop solutions that are tailor-made for that specific climate, that specific comfort requested by brief and requested by the best practice. Another department that, for example, we have created within ZHA, it's about work space planning. So when we talk about, for example, an office building, it's quite clear that there are three main components that play within the design, the initial design of every of our project. And this is to do with external view quality, with the amount of natural light that is very much required within an office building, and finally, how to strive connectivity within the office. So I'm going to show you a very simple, let's say, study that we have developed for one of our clients, where he had a quite substantial plot within Hong Kong, and he was trying to establish as a first step what would have been the right position, but also the right massing to actually maximize the visibility towards the sea and the visibility towards the mountain. And essentially, what we have been looking at is a series of potential position, potential basic form of the tower, and study how the views were affected in an analytical way. So if I now jump on this video, you could see how in a real time we could discuss with the client not only what is the best position, but actually visualizing in a very simple way to try to make sense of this specific item in the design of the tower. We know that the view is very important, but when you look then at, let's say, the position of the core within a floor plate, or how this would affect the daylight or visibility across an office floor plan, then essentially the options are very much exponentially growing in terms of what can be done and what cannot be done. And again, the use of a very simple animation, and again, this is all done within our office, can visualize millions of configuration of core, split a core, corner core, and so on within an office building, and give a qualitative but also quantitative response to what can be achieved. Again, is this little software here gonna make the final decision on what we design and what we not, or is gonna be the view? Those are all information that are important to understand the condition that we are working with, but are never going to dictate the final position of the core or the final position of the actual building within the site. And it's important to understand the difference between, a lot of data and analytics coming into the picture of the design. They are a very important tools of understanding what can be done and what not, but they are never going to be the giving you the final solution, design for you this specific tower. And again, just for you to understand the extent of the collaboration that we have in place within our office, I'm also showing you very briefly the work that we are doing in the metaverse. So there is a lot of discussion about AI and the use of AI within the design practices. We took it in our hands and we decided to open up a collaboration with different companies. We have also a award in Fortnite for whoever likes this game. They've been designed within our office, collaborating with the expert in the field. So in this video, I'm going to show you something about the work of ZHA in the metaverse.
it has truly transformed into something that could potentially lead to significantly new kinds of design experiences and adventures.
And after, having a little bit of fun with the work in the metaverse, I'm going to now start to talk about those 4 case studies. So bear with me a little bit longer. The first one is a project, is a quite old project. It was start to design in the 1990, at the end of the 1990s, but completed only in 2010 and open to the public, is the Museum of Contemporary Art in Rome. And this project is quite significant in terms of the history of how the office tools, digital tools or not, has been, reflecting of how to intervene within an existing context. So starting to, of course, you all know Rome, but this area of Rome is north of, is the north part of Rome, and it was in a way industrial kind of area where at the time of the competition for this museum, it was decided that a part of the existing facility needed to be reused, but very much this museum not only had to be able to, express the best of the design of a museum for the 21st century's art, was also very much meant to be a connector between different parts of the city, creating some open spaces and plaza within that. The tools that at the time we were using, nothing to do with digital simulation, but very much looking at how throughout the expression of paintings, those are original paintings done by Zaha herself, as well as a lot of physical models that could combine, again, the initial ideas from some sort of a very light touch into something that very much start to talk about tectonics within the site. And again, those are we're talking about quite a few years back. So those were our 3D model to actually represent that space within the realm of the digital. Again, this combination, hand sketches within the site, and finally created the design of this museum that is very much all about creating passages both inside and outside and creating a dialogue within the space and context and within the arts in itself and the actual architecture of the spaces. So some images that represent what is happening within the building. So we just saw for now the volumes that are actually flying across the site and create this fantastic communion between the context and the site. In here, this same space are actually this same idea of art in movement and spaces that you can always look from a different perspective is coming to life, and it's coming to life in a way that people would always find very easy to navigate the building, despite the fact that it's a very elongated space, by the use of walkways, by the use of staircase. They are allowing for a maximum participation in all of the spaces, also the transition space. At the opening of this building, there was quite a criticism from some curators saying the building was too imposing. We are talking about the time in which more or less a museum was a black box where then the curator will come in and set the scene for whichever exhibition. This specific project is actually not doing that. It's actually challenging the curators to create arts or to create shows that actually are engaging with the container, so the building itself. And there it comes. There is an extensive program of also music and art that is happening within those spaces. There are an incredibly rich environment with natural light coming from the top, a series of very plain but also very mm, mm, powerful concrete walls. People can actually start to engage with spaces in a way that maybe in a black box would not make any sense. So a lot of curators were actually quite happy to be challenged in the task of inserting arts within the actual architecture of the spaces itself. So this is an array of the spaces. When it comes to the outside, the fact that the building is actually floating on the main plaza is created now a public passage where you can, stand within the museum ground, appreciating what is happening inside with a quite open ground floor, but also very much creating a connection between the two main parts of the city that were not connected before. So some of the details of this is one of the upper gallery in the top part of the building. And again, the beauty stands in those fantastic details, this connection between a vertical wall with a round, with one of those round fillets that are in the composition of the building itself. The second project is the Port Authority Port House in Antwerp, Belgium, where I personally always think the greatness of this project stands on reusing and readapting an existing office building, that is this building that you see at the base, with now a completely new addition on the top. This was a competition entry. We won it. It was an open competition that we won years back. And the idea here is that in a way, the extension of those headquarters had to represent the jump in the way we work in office spaces from the 19th century to the 21st century. And so, in terms of what it brings together, it's again an old design. Well, in a way, it was the competition was won in 2009. It's integrating a actually listed building within its own design, and is creating a new addition on the top with minimal interruption of the existing building. Where did we start? We started from the site condition again. So the request, the brief was actually requesting for each one of the facades of this heritage building to be visible across the port. Is an office for the port authority within the context. But also there was an important axis, central axis, where the building in itself was sitting. So we came up with this idea of a minimal intrusion when it comes to the existing building. So all of the facades still have plenty of use in terms of office building, but then with this quite bold glass and concrete addition in the middle. The idea here, you see structurally, we have a new core within the courtyard of the existing building that is actually serving vertically with leaves. And then there is another very important object coming through the plaza that is the second support for the building itself. And I like this tension. I like how somehow there is an attention to bring the to not interfere with the new building, but at the same time being able to is respecting the existing building, but at the same time making its presence with the new addition. And this is done also in the insertion, as I was saying, of the existing courtyard that is now covered to provide for a quite generous lobby for the office spaces, but also for the vertical connection all the way up into the space. The idea of using this faceted facade was also a bit of a homage to the Antwerp diamond trade that is very much what made this city the city that it is. So I think this is a very short video about the end user and how they felt this building is actually representing them and creating a new way of working. There is a bit of echo from my side, but I hope.
8 years ago, they decided to build this new building, and then they drew up a plan in how do we want to work here. And there were words like collaboration, working together, transparency, moving, etc. And that's what we try to do in this building. People are very proud to work in our new port house. I'm convinced that people talk more, work together in a better way. You don't have to sit all day at the same desk. You can move, and teams sit together in the same open space, so they see each other, they meet each other, which is better for cooperation, for collaboration, and to solve problems. You need innovation, and this building and this way of work enables it to be innovative. I think it has to be the future of work, yeah. It's architecture and technology together.
So this was actually the lady that was talking was not an architect of the office, was the end user of the building itself. And it's nice for us to have also a way to establish whether some of our ideas or maybe it's not only our ideas, some of the specific in the new way of designing office building are actually then very much appreciated and put in full use by the workers and the end users. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this project, Morpheus, a City of Dreams. And the topic here is, again, how can we shape a design that uses fully our technology when it comes to design, but also pushes very much the boundaries of what can be built structurally from a fire point of view. This building has been an extremely challenging design, but a challenging design that has throughout its design and fabrication a lot of meaning for the brief and meaning for the site in itself. So in terms, this is Morpheus. I mean, it's quite a big building hosting a 5-star plus hotel with facilities. And again, I'm going to show you first how does it look in its overall, and then explain you how did we arrive to this shape and how we then executed the design throughout every stages of the design. have to apologize in advance because some of those heroic music have nothing to do with our choice. They're coming directly from someone in branding press from the client itself. Having seen the project in the overall, I just want to go through a little bit the history how we came up with this of this design. First of all, this project is in Macau. Macau is a reclaimed land and is within the Cotai area where all of the fancy casinos are located. And it's actually at the time that we were asked the client to rethink what Morpheus will look like within the context of an existing project, the project in itself had already a first life, meaning that there were already foundation for a completely different building on site, and therefore our design had to consider this specific in right at the beginning of right at the beginning of the first sketches. The project in itself is almost 600 rooms, hotel rooms, with facilities both in the podium and at the top of the building. We have the site is complex in a sense that we only had quite a limited site to actually plant our building. There was 50 by 100 by 150 and a huge number of hotel rooms. So when we started to think about, maybe I'll go back to this element. When we start to think about how we could achieve that amount of rooms within a site that was completely compressed and with the actual basic rules that hotel rooms, apart from they have a maximum offset from the facade, we decided to start very simply from an extrusion of the site in its own form and start to carve out mass to allow for natural light to actually go all around the building. This carving had a lot of reiteration right at the beginning, but at the end we settled with something that would still allow a series of, connection between the two, at the end, towers that we have on the side, and it's actually allowing for natural light to go all around the building in the area that we call the belly area. The building in itself it is very much defined, but the way we work on the structure itself is the first exoskeleton in steel prone to the facade that is singly curved. And I think we will have to wait a little bit longer to see another one of this kind. The idea of using an exoskeleton was not only as a beauty treatment of the mass itself, but was very much to allow the maximum flexibility within the floor plate of the hotel for the client to have the flexibility also in future to redesign the building. So essentially, the exoskeleton is the main, together with the two cores situated, concrete core situated in the center, is the main support for the building. And given that Macau is a typhoon area and seismic area, the design of this exoskeleton had to be highly responding to those very uncommon condition on site. The way, as I was saying before, that we work on the volume is actually not only on the facade, but is coming back in the way we carved out a mass on the top of the building to allow for an infinity pool to appear, as well as how we carve out mass within the space itself to create a 40 meters tall atrium where the panoramic lift that you have seen in the video are actually appearing. This building is about a mesmerizing journey from the external to the internal, and is again a bit like what I was explaining on the Maxi, designed with the idea that every time you will have a easy wayfinding, but also a very much connection to what is happening within and outside the building itself. So the exoskeleton is not only an external facade, the exoskeleton is actually becoming part of the design of each one of the common facilities, making, let's say, the backdrop for each one of the spaces. Like, as I was saying before, we have those two panoramic leaves that are shooting from the lobby space all the way up to the building. And those panoramic leaves are actually not only absorbing to the fantastic role of the lateral stability of the building by connecting the external exoskeleton with the edge beams and beams all the way back there, but they are actually a way of experiencing this building throughout its elevation. This video is actually showing, is done with an iPhone or a phone, so bear with us, but it's actually showing would you see as you travel up in the lift, as you travel within the space of the building to get all the way to the swimming pool situated at the top. So you see that this exoskeleton and this glazing is actually collaborating at the definition of the wall, the ceiling within each one of those common facilities. And we should be now heading to the swimming pool on the top of the building. And no members of this exoskeleton have been designed, are not collaborating structures. So, for example, this is the area under the swimming pool where we have again a full floor plate around, and we are actually walking by seeing below the space of the last void of the external exoskeleton. Another important concept that I think is helping in this idea of beauty within the design is that each one of the components of this building, from the exoskeleton all the way to the glazing panelization, all the way to the interior design of the 40 meters tall atrium wall, or the Pierre Hermé patisserie pavilion that is sitting within the lobby, are actually using very common geometries that are readapted to actually their own function. It's important to understand this concept of, the micro scale and the micro scale within a building. The repetition is boring. The use of certain geometries retaught and readapt to the function that they have to absorb is very much what makes the overall design coherent within itself. So even the quite important pole that we use for the fire strategy within the lobby are actually designed with in mind, what is happening in the quads of the exoskeleton, the triangulation of the internal facade, and again the units that we use in the pavilion. And again, how to make the design of this restaurant that sits within the two core and lifts coming up and down to be taking care of the privacy. And here comes a design that on one end is using this round shape of the cocoon, on the other is parametrically designed leaf components that is actually adjusted to allow for the view of the space within, but to minimize the intrusion from the leaf passing up and down within the actual dining space of the cafe. In terms of the use of parametric tools, again, this is where the collaboration is essential. I'm saying this to my colleagues as well as to my students. By ourselves, we don't do much. I mean, we do architecture is all about finding the right way of collaborating all the way to the top with the clients, because they are important players when it comes to our design, but all the way down to the last fabricators. If the communication and the collaboration is actually fluid, is actually simplified, then essentially even a very complex project like the one that I just shown to you could be made could become a buildable building. So this is the workflow that we establish within ZHA, defining the geometry, assigning rules, and then parametrically, throughout millions of reiteration, come up with, the boundary within, for example, the structure engineers could work with. Have we done it once? No, we have done it a lot of time. Then this design goes into the tools of the structure engineers and facade engineers to then become the bolt and nut of, for example, the substructure of the cladding of the exoskeleton. This is where I think there is a very sophisticated system that throughout tools is made simple to the point that can be built on site. And again, another video with a terrible music, but bear with me because it's quite interesting to see how on site and off site and then on site they have actually built Morpheus. And again, I'm going back to, we can design fantastic parametric tools, but in essence, buildings are still built in this way. So it's about us and it's our responsibility to control all the way to the final fabrication and really collaborate. I had endless visit to the actual factory to discuss with the workers, with the PM, how to actually come up with solutions that were feasible in that specific location. The last project of today is the King Abdullah Petroleum Studies and Research Center, Aramco, in KSA. And this project is, I think, one of the best example of the office to how to design a new research center with a lot of facilities within an extreme climate condition. So when we started working on this competition, I don't know why, this might be another video for you, but essentially when we start working on this site, the common agenda between the HA and the actual client was to be able to have, to achieve a platinum BREEAM, that is the highest recognition when it comes to sustainability. So this project, the initial seed was very much to do designing for life of us, animals, and environment within this building. So I'm going to show you the competition entry video that is very much telling you the story of how we came up with this design. So the starting point of this project was actually the condition of Riyadh. This at the time was a desert area, and it's still for a desertic. I mean, all of the KSA is a desertic area. Was to actually look at two elements. One was the seasonal winds within spring, autumn, and the areas where we could actually use some shaded external spaces to actually be occupied during the day. You have to imagine that, I mean, the temperature there are around 50 degrees all year long, but there is, if you capture with the design the breeze or the winds, as well as you create shaded spaces, it's quite pleasurable, it's quite nice to be outside. So from this, again, the design started to use this idea of a combination of cells where on one end we were trying to capture in those cells the predominant wind, but at the same time we were creating shading on the courtyard spaces to make it a livable outdoor space. So the all idea started from the great diversity of cell sizes and proportion, where each one of the cells is actually adapted and configured to take on an auditorium, for example, a library, or a series of office spaces. And those cells are actually combined within the space with a canopy area that covers the in between the enclosed spaces itself. In this diagram is clearly shown that each one of the office spaces has a very generous courtyard that is made livable by what I was saying before, by raising up a side and creating some shading from the predominant from the direction of the sun, as well as trying to capture the direction of the wind. The cell itself are actually becoming the beginning of the life of the spaces itself, providing the natural light needed for the space itself, for example, the office building, the office cells, as well as creating an environment that is pleasurable to live outside. So you see that then we started to look at the typology or type of outdoor spaces. One is more like a light cone, another one is a courtyard, another one is providing a roof terrace for outdoor experiences, another one is in an indoor garden. And the combination of the cell in a section is actually making this variety of aggregation very rich, not only in terms of the overall composition, the beauty of the building from fly through, but very much the beauty of the building as you move across the different spaces. And again, the program is quite demanding. There are lab spaces, there are office spaces, there are big auditorium, prayers room. And when we look at those courtyard a bit more in detail, we can see that the facade that are exposed to the sun, they are actually treated with mostly solid material, whereas in the areas where there is never direct sun on the glazing is completely open. And this is done throughout the design of the building itself, with this connecting tissue that is an open canopy that is used to move across the campus as well as for events. And again, as you walk through the corridor of one cell to another, you're always going to have part of the facade to be glazing to appreciate the weather outside to start with. So this combination of open cells, closed cells, and canopy is actually allowing for a very rich variety of program within the building. Some of those cells that have a skylight on the top is where, for example, this is the research center, where it was important to have, a visual communication between the different labs throughout an open space with an open staircase. You see the theme of how people are experiencing the building, whether in the Maxi, whether in the Morpheus Hotel, is very part of the essence of what are people experiencing within the spaces, and therefore are a trademark of the way we think about projecting themselves. Again, some more images of the spaces. This is the conference center with, again, the attention in giving some indirect direct light within the space itself. And more images. This is the prayers room that is very much, a reinterpretation of the Mashrabia theme in the Arab world within the space, within the context of being contemporary in any case. An example of how people are using this center, and it's very nice for us to appreciate the post-design life of buildings. Again, this is a video showing the overall of the building, but I am conscious about time and I don't want to take too much. I know that there might be other people waiting to present, so I'm just gonna close with the last sentence. Meaningful beauty for us is about exploring solutions that are sustainable, they are not repetitive, they are contextual to create a better future for people and ecosystems. Thank you very much for your time.